Call special meeting in order. Bill Sharp, please call.
Burgess.
Here.
Gordon.
Here.
Myers. Hoskin.
Here.
Washington. Here. Williams. Here.
All right. Motion carried here. Quorum. To additional budget review. We have already we left off on Monday. I think we should just go ahead and start with the first page, hit the ones that we haven't hit yet. And try to highlight stuff as we went down through. So the first thing we'll look at is the municipal audits. It's between parks and playgrounds and dispatch center. I don't know what page it is. So it's page number 6 on mine. I've got the same one here now. They have two of these on there, and I'm running both of them. All right, municipal audits, is it page 6? Hopefully I got the right one. Okay. So we've got municipal audits this year. Now that we're all caught up, we're only doing one audit this year, so, man, Taylor. Last year, I think we ended up doing like 2, so we ended up finishing everything up. We are completely all the way caught up. We're on to the next committee meeting coming up with the auditors coming here and give the board all the information from the last audit that was just completed. Everything's been submitted to the state. We're all done, so, which is good. We're on time and everything's up. So $60,000 this next year. It was running $55,000 per audit. It's up a little bit, which isn't really bad. 60,000 for the audit. Do you want to have any questions on that one? All right. Next thing. Here. Oh, I highlighted everything. Sorry about that. Liability insurance, we've got $511,997. That's up from last year. Last year we spent $485. Thank you. Catch me tonight if I make mistakes. I'll be honest with you, I'm very tired tonight. So, I don't want to misquote me on something here. The note I have here is this is based off the old proposal that they provided, so that's why we have this number punched in there. $511,997.
But now we take away dispatch.
That's a big question for when you look at the proposal, I think what we'll have to do is go back to the old phone through once everything is finalized. And maybe we'll ask for another quotation, see if that is less.
And it is, then we put that on the side too. So I'm just looking, we paid $485 last year, and that's with the dispatchers.
Correct.
I'm sure taking the dispatchers out
But this is
will lower it a little bit.
Yeah, this is liability insurance.
Right. We paid.
I think our liability is buildings, cars, I think. We're not talking about health insurance, we're talking
I
about.
mean, the building liability on the dispatch center itself, I mean, we're not going to be, why would we hold that if we're not going to be using it?
It's all
Yeah, it's well, falls under the entire
Yeah,
building.
the dispatch has its own liability for a reason. I mean, you have the police department, there was money taken out of dispatch.
You're probably right, so let's double check on that one. So we'll go down, but again, when I'm looking at liabilities, I'm thinking more of our police vehicles, I'm thinking of our buildings, if someone slips and falls out here on our sidewalks, covers our community centers, things like that, that's what I'm thinking, but There may be a section there for dispatching, let's find out. It's a great point, and then, again, hopefully that will put more money back into the budget. Let's, put a note right here. Call, let's go tomorrow. Okay. But if anything, that number will decrease if that is the fact. And what would end up happening is because this does fall into general fund, that money would go into a surplus in the general fund, as of right now. It's first time we've had a surplus. Of course, we're not done talking tonight, so.
We don't have a surplus, we can find out.
There you go. And I have to be honest with you, I tried very hard. I wanted to have a $500,000 surplus to pay off the aging report. Every time we turned around, it was something else that brought the numbers down so low. All right, does anyone have any questions about the liability insurance? All right, next, don't let me miss anything here. I'm scrolling down what's not highlighted. I have, the next thing highlighted is the emergency telephone 911 system. Is that what everyone has? Huh? That was under Kevin. I had it marked off. We talked about more fuel tax, we talked about roads and stuff. So what page does everyone have? Page 11? I got no, that's too long. So I'm going to put these separate, so when he gets here, we're going to talk about the owner's group liability. We're going to talk about the 2007 B bonds, if they're abated. That's why I told Juan he had me here tonight. This stuff he can quote off the top of his head. He doesn't know say. So we'll find out that. But, under the 911 systems, anyone have any questions? We got 61,000. But again, we know that money will go into the Joint Dispatch Center. So.
We collected 60.
We collected 60,000 last year. 6,800.
Right, we budgeted for 80.
Correct.
This time we just
Yeah, we're seeing those numbers decrease every single year. And the reason we're seeing them decrease is everyone's going to cell phones. There's two reasons. One, people are going to cell phones getting rid of their landlines. We're seeing less and less landlines. The second thing is people are going to internet type phones, where the phone goes off with their internet,
right,
and they're not paying those charges, or they're doing everything over the internet.
But are they still paying 911 for their cell phone? Is that on their
Cell phone, it is.
Right.
But the other thing is the cell phones are getting smart to it, where if someone gets a cell phone that you only pay for the minutes, or you get these disposable cell phones.
They're not charging for them?
No, they found ways to get around this stuff. There is things in Springfield that they're looking at, all these things. And you talk about, one of the biggest things that hit municipalities is the internet. We talk about, even in the federal government, people quit mailing letters because they can do email. They quit corresponding because they have social media, right? So you hear about post offices that are losing money every year. Okay? When it comes to municipalities, we lose money when people get rid of their landlines, when they find ways to go around. If you go to Xfinity or Verizon, you can walk right in and say, here's an whole entire phone system. It goes right through your internet, never touches anything. Those are ways to get around paying these. So every year, I think we've seen a decrease in these 911 surcharges.
What about cable? Don't they pay utility charge or municipal charge? Don't you pay on the cable?
It doesn't go through 911.
Or it does?
Again, that's another reason why we were looking for that dollar increase. If you look, we budgeted 80,000. I think the year before it was more than that, because we knew we were starting to see downward. 10 last year, we only got about less than 61,000, so almost $61,200. Okay, what we do, I'm gonna leave the 2007 bonds unhighlighted, so we know we have to come back to that. Does anyone else have any other questions about that? The guy has one notes next to it.
Do we, where it says miscellaneous expenses?
Okay, I do have notes next to this. Let's see what I have. I have, there's no maintenance fees for this year under this one. The second line item at trust fees. Thank you. It's budgeted under utility fund.
Okay.
And the transfer to the debt services is budgeted under the utility fund also. Under miscellaneous services, those went under utility fund.
We had gone through that shit.
And then it says, net revenues and over expenditures, no expenditures budgeted, and it's budgeted in utility fund. So that's why you see nothing budgeted under here, because it was all moved to utility funds. So we'll leave that one open also. When he gets here, you can explain. Grants. This is for the drug enforcement funds. Last year, yeah, the next one down. Last year we budgeted $50,000, but we only received $251. So this year we dropped it down to $5,000. We're going to go out there and continue to try to push these grants and stuff for drug enforcement, things like that. So that one did go down. Expenditures, you'll see there that the expenditures for the drug enforcement funds, looking at major tools and work equipment, whatever we can spend under drugs, for drug funds. That's where it falls. We're not going to do any other contractual services underneath there. We're not reserving for future expenses right now. So these are at the $5,000 for total expenditures.
Would that entail our police vehicles, fire, work equipment, or what was that?
You know, there's a list of things that we can go by. I think the important thing is first get the money. $251 we got last year, it doesn't buy very
No,
much.
I'm looking at, that's what I'm looking at now. If we only got $251, but we're budgeting
$5,000.
$5,000.
Yep. Again, I think we feel that we can, you know, I think about $50,000 where we budgeted last year is far reach. So we feel that $5,000 is reachable to get these funds in here and be able to use them for any type of major tools or work equipment. When we talk about work equipment, I'm sure a car will fall in there. It has to be something that they have to use, a piece of equipment they need for work.
If we did, what was it, 9,000 we actually spent last year,
Right.
so this year, okay, well, it is what it is. We're going to get, we're way on that one.
Yep.
$9,000.
And when I look at 5,000, and the other thing too is we're looking at is, you know, the police department has to make sure that when they, something that they do, if there's a drug bust or anything like that, they have to make sure that the monies are put where they're supposed to be. They have to make sure that they're allocating them to the right fund. And then again, that falls on them because Mohan and Mike, who they're putting these numbers in here, they don't know, they just see an expenditure come across from the police department. You know, so if there's a ticket that deals with drugs, they should make sure that it's marked on there that that money should go toward this fund.
Now, what about if there's a toll on the drugs? Would they go under the drug seizure fund? I mean, if they toll,
I think
I think it was saying hotel.
yeah, it's total. But
If there, like, if it was, if the vehicle was towed and there was,
I'm talking about
Something
because
in
of
it.
drugs, no, I'm talking because
so was the tow fee would go for tow.
Right.
If they recovered money, if they recovered product, then that would go under drug safety. but like the actual, like the $500 toll, that would go under tow.
And the police department needs to make sure they identify what is what, because there's different funds under the police department. You have the toll fund, you've got the K-9 fund, you've got the drug seizure fund. And again, you talk about what happens if I had a K-9 unit that had a pull someone over, we told their car because they had drugs in the car. That's where you're looking for the police department to tell us, does this call go toward the K-9 unit, does it go toward the drug seizure fund, or does it go to the toll fund? That's where they have to make sure they identify the correct line item. So it can get kind of tricky, I think, sometimes. But that's what we look for them, to make sure they identify. Any other questions under this one here? All right, let's look at water. Utility tax fund. The next one, you have a page?
16.
Page number 16. Thank you. All right, utility tax, we look at bringing in this year $210,000 on funds from taxes. And then when you look at the breakdown, we're looking at only spending expenditures of $206,637 with a surplus of $3,000 in there. And when we look at this stuff, when you look at each bank fees, we got debt service, utility tax, plus we know the dispatch centers being closed, the transfers to the general fund, next one is 100% debt service, and utility tax, and because of the dispatch center being closed. So when you look at those areas there. Now, I see the expenditures, again, you asked about the 2007 B bond.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's moved to utility tax, I just found it. So expenditures for the 2000, you said 2007, right? Yeah, 2007 B is $101,837.50.
Okay, but I do have a question as far as utility taxes. We've only took in last year $194,944. And that's where did we get $20,000 increase?
Yeah, again,
how do you feel that's going to happen?
those are figures that Mohan gets from the state on what as a community we should be getting in. We can ask him that, but he has formulas and stuff. We did lose some utility tax last year.
That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at actual numbers. If we took in X amount, I don't know what formula he's using, but if we took in X amount last year,
right.
What changed that we would take in more this year? Did we have a dramatic increase and people moving out, or because I understand that you're using that to pay the expenses, and right now the way you have it, the way it's done, after everything is paid, we'll have a net of $3,000. That's if we get $210,000 in. If we don't get $210,000 in, we just get $200,000, we'll have a deficit of about $6,000, right? So
It's a good point. I can't answer, so I got it down here. I've got 3 questions now, so when Mohan gets here, hopefully in the next 10, 15 minutes, we can start, we'll backtrack and get some answers.
and what's the transfers coming from? Not the series, that's 2007B transfer. We took out $200,000 last year. Were they
Transfer
those
to
transfer from?
the general fund,
Right, from where?
utility tax. Okay, from above is your expenditure, or your revenues. Down here is your expenditures.
It's expenditures. They're taking out here, taking it, so it's an expense, that transfer is going somewhere else. I'm just wondering, where is it going?
The transfer goes to the general fund.
Okay, so in other words.
So we're taking $100,000
Okay.
out less this year.
Than you did last year.
Than last year to go into the
Utility, so
Yep.
But everything is still based on 210, and that's what I was looking at.
Yes. Yep. That's why there's a $3,000 surplus.
Right. That's if we get 210. That's
Correct. Yep. Yeah, that's big.
I would like to see it, I mean, I'm looking at numbers, I would like to see it stay right at, and if we get more, that's fine, but if we project more than what we took in last year, and we don't take it in, but right then and there, we can start going into the negative. I'd rather see it, and we work with what we actually took in, and if we get more, quite naturally, that's a surplus, that's too good, but at least we're working with real numbers that we actually see, not hypothetical that we may get in. That's just my opinion.
Didn't Commonwealth Edison, NICOR, the couple, or didn't they say that they're allowing utility taxes to be raised? Is that possibly where that raise is going to come from?
No, I mean, a lot of people are doing, a lot of people are not even going with ComEd, some people are going with other places. I
Well,
mean,
the utility companies in general, I think, didn't the utility board, did they allow them to raise their
I didn't
rates?
see it. If they did, if you can show it to me, fine. I didn't see that. I mean, you're talking about $20,000.
Oh, right, exactly.
I mean, you know, I don't know.
Over 3,000.
Well, 3,000 homes, right, so I don't know, my tax hasn't gone up, but then again, I'm not saying that anyone else hasn't. But that's just, I'd rather plan for what I have in my hand than what I'm hoping to get in my other hand, right, that's all.
Right, I've got to know, we were at 94,000, we'll say 95,000, we're $2 short. So we were at $195,000 last year, we're budgeted for $206,000 this year, almost 207, so. Again, what I would do is, and we'll go with Mohan, he can tell you exactly how I came up with those figures. If we have to, we just take less money going into the general fund, which will lower our surplus in the general fund.
That makes sense.
Because I think right now, the general fund, with all the changes that were made 2 nights ago, our general fund's down to a surplus of 40,000. So that number continues to trend. So. All right. CDGE funds. This year we applied for 600,000. We're pretty confident we're going to get 400,000. We've got word out of.
Or housing. No, we didn't. No, that was for the streets. No, we didn't get anything. And now we feel we're going to get something?
We applied for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, see, it's not added in.
We asked.
I see it's not added in, so that's a good thing.
Right. So we've asked for it, and we've got some good jives. I think we applied for, what I say, 600,000, and something will get 400,000.
But then at the bottom, you're going to use that, which is where it's supposed to do. You're going to use it for the motor fuel MFT.
Well, remember your community development block grant, okay? The monies we're getting will go toward roads and infrastructure.
Right.
So that's what we're putting back to more fuel
Motor
tax,
fuel tax,
because
right.
that money will go right back into our roads.
Keyword.
Yeah. So, and I know we've talked about this before, but at the end of this month, we're going down to Springfield. So if you still want to go, let me know. We're going to be down there in front of our state representatives. I'm going in with a bunch of mayors. We're going to be talking to the governor. We're currently working on right now to get white pages and shovel-ready projects. So when I get my handshake with the governor, I'm going to be handing him a folder and say, Governor, please remember us. So, if you get the time off, if you want to go, let me know. We can still schedule meetings with your state representatives. My day is pretty much planned. I've got meetings with IML. I've got meetings with our state representatives. We're going to meetings with the governor's new department heads in the main departments when it comes to IDOT, things like that. We're going in, we're meeting with the IEPA that day. We're meeting with, of course, the governor. Meeting with the governor. And then got some things that were in the afternoon that we're going to be doing. So. But if you want to go down, let me know. We'll make sure we make some calls to our state representatives, make sure things that you know we have to do too. You're going down with the Democrats. Democrat movement in the South Suburbs. So our village clerk is going down. fact, I'm giving $50.
You are, yeah.
You gotta remind me.
You
I got it.
just
I
remembered.
just remembered. So I'm giving $50 to help, because they're doing, they're taking a bunch of young women, high school women down, right, to the Democratic Women's Party. So I'm giving $50 to help sponsor.
There's snacks on the bus on the way.
There you go. So,
Yeah, glad you remembered.
you know, you gotta remind me. I do have that. In fact, I put it to the side. It's sitting in my top drawer on my mosaic, of course. Because I knew if I didn't put it to the side when I remembered, I'd forget it. I know you won't. All righty. The CN fund, we still have $240,000. That's in that. That is the proper name is quietly. Is that what it is?
Noise mitigation.
Noise mitigation. So we still have that money in there that
We
showed
do?
last year. Yes.
Okay.
$250,000.
240.
240.
$240,000 is in there. As you can see, it's still there. It's there to be spent. So we will continue. That's one thing Mohan's very good at. I have to say, because I constantly ask him, you haven't spent this money. Is this money still there? And yes, and he can tell you exactly how much money is in there. When it comes to money we receive from Enbridge, when it comes to money we receive from CN, anything like that, anything that's identified for a certain project. He's pretty good at it. What page are we on there,
We're on
trustee?
page 17.
We're on page 17, trustee. So, we got trustee Myers, right? All right, we get into our TIFs. TIF 1 is no longer there, so as you'll see, TIF 1 this year was removed totally from the budget.
You're gonna put it in there because it doesn't say that.
Well,
It doesn't-
it was
I'm
there
saying
last,
that-
it was there last year?
No, I'm saying that in this, it doesn't say tip one, it says, the next one says tip two, but it doesn't say tip one.
Well, I didn't want anyone to think, especially the new trustees, I didn't want you to think that we missed a TIF, because you're going to see now we only have TIF 2, 3, and 4. TIF 1 has dissolved. It's no longer there. I think it was on there last year, just so we had it for accounting purposes. But since we no longer have TIF number 1, it's no longer there. The TIFs that we have, 2, 3, and 4, will remain under 2, 3, and 4. To start with those. That's why you only have TIF number 2 starting with. You see there that the tax levy was abated, hence there's no revenue
Tip two.
on TIF number 2. So we see that. And then again, because of the abatement, we don't have the information yet for the expenditures. But again, there's no money, no revenue coming in for that TIF number 2. If you want to know where the TIFs are, I'll tell you, TIF number 1 used to be Sauk Plaza. TIF number 2 is where Pacesetter Steel and Minority Auto, Lilly Brothers, that's on the south side of Sauk Trail. TIF number 3 is exactly across the street north of Sauk Trail. That's where you'll find Winpack, Bear Paint, WSI. So you'll find all those on that side. Then if you come back into across 394, TIF number 4, if you're heading east on Sauk Trail, will be on the right-hand side. That's where you'll see Popeyes, little strip malls. The daycare center is back in that area. That's TIF number 4. So kind of give you a little bit of geography.
Do it best.
Do it best falls underneath there. So, all right.
But now I do have, so now there's no, are we still drawing from tip two? Do we get in there? Because right now it says,
If you can remember how the TIFs are drawn up, for especially for new trustees, the way the TIFs are brought up are designed where if there's anything extra on top of it, the village gets a percentage along with the companies that are in there. Now, the village has the first right to make their draws, where it's based off of administration. We look at how many times the police officers went over there. We keep track of the fire department. We keep track of the amount of hours we go through, if there's through the TIF meetings, any type of work that we have in there with our engineers, things like that. So we are able to get some of that money back. So it's, every TIF's different. It's usually right around $200,000 a year.
I don't see anything here, are we getting any money from tip two? I mean, because there's nothing here. I mean, I'm sure we should get something from, they still have projects.
Yeah, but we didn't have any revenue coming out of it this year.
Well,
Taxes were being. very difficult to get money. One good thing is all our TIFs, the 3 TIFs, are contiguous, okay? Which means that we can draw money from TIFs from, yes, from 2, 3, and 4, because they're all connected. So, again, I don't think as of right now, I mean, Mohan will probably be able to let us know for sure, and then I just want to look. This one, 5. All right. No, TIF number 3.
Right.
That's TIF number 3. TIF number 3, we're looking at off property taxes for that, $563,000 through TIF number 3.
I don't think it also $1 million, I'm just wondering.
Well,
Is it different?
Yeah. TIF number 3, we gave a Class 8 to the 700,000 square foot building.
Yeah, but that's still, that's $1 million difference.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about the Class 8. The Class 8 went from $1.95 per square foot down to 85 to 90 cents per square foot.
That's half.
A little more than that.
Okay. So,
Again, and those were vacant buildings, so what we're looking for is, we were talking property tax. Our goal was to get businesses in there, so we start
Right.
getting sales tax and
I was wondering how it,
employment tax and
how it, the difference, $1 million is a lot. I mean, I'm like, that's more how they came up with that figure because.
Well, because we partially abated
Right.
TIF number 3 also. So you've got an abatement on there also.
But now, we get a percentage from impact after, in other words, we pull an administration fee out of all of them. And you still have 1, 2, 3, 4 rivals. Even though they got a Class 8, we still pull it. So basically, what I'm looking at now is all this 563 is basically administration fees, which is for your services.
Right, but again, when you look at your TIFs, you can only have a certain amount of money. So
Correct.
when you give an abatement, we're drawing less taxes from those businesses. So we did a partial abatement on TIF number 3. And at the same time, we gave a Class 8 to the almost 800,000 square foot building, 700,000 square foot building that was vacant, so we can bring businesses into that area.
So not everyone can understand, and I'm just going to give a short synopsis. TIF number 3, they have a clause that, which all of them do, that we pay the bonds first. In other words, the bonds are paid before anybody gets anything. So that means it doesn't cost the village anything, like other bonds that will. So that's what happened. That's why, that pays the bonds. The bonds that were taken out for that was for infrastructure. They put the infrastructure in, and then we had to get a bond to pay them back. They paid for all the streets, they have them put in, the lights and everything. And then once everything has been written off or it's been okay, then they come back to the village and say, we want our money. And so then we have to float the bond, but we don't have that kind of money to pay them. But that payment is paid off through their property taxes as soon as they get that. It was left over, it's divided out. But I'm just looking at 500, I'm just wanting to be a little bit more because that's only administration cost, and I don't even know how much that would be for police and fire. I mean, that's a lot.
Well, the village can only get a certain amount.
Right.
Right?
We got
And the
1.5
funny-
last year, though.
Right, because the thing is, we had too much money left in last year. And what the funny thing
Maybe
is,
8%.
yeah, it doesn't make sense, but on a TIF, you can only have a certain amount of money left in your TIF, okay? If you have more than that amount, you have to abate taxes, so you're getting less taxes in that area. So what may not sound right to us, it's better if the businesses pay the higher taxes and they're doing more improvements and expansions, because what ends up happening is that money can be used for those improvements, for those expansions in those areas. We noticed last year, there was very little growth, but we're looking for more growth, especially TIF number 3 this next year.
Can't the TIF borrow money from the other TIF if it's a blighted area? Like if it's a,
I wanted to do what with?
you can take one TIF, put it into another TIF if the TIF is a blighted area.
There's exceptions to everything.
Right.
I mean, you have to follow your exceptions. Yes, I mean, your answer, the short answer is yes. The long answer is, how much money do the businesses in that area have coming? How much are you going to take out? Are your TIFs side by side continuing thank you, I was pronounce that word. To do that, and the improvements that you're going to do. There's other exceptions, so you know, that's why we have like Kane and McKenna. So if someone came up, if TIF number 4 came up and said, we want work to do and there's no money in this TIF, we want you to take money out. So we would go to Kane and McKenna, who is our financial people, and they would say, okay, what do you want to do? Number 1, are those TIF eligible expenses? Number 2, can those expenses be used from another TIF to do stuff like that?
So Kate McKenna would be the one responsible to take the lead on those projects, not the board person.
Well, definitely, we take our advice from our financial people. Because I don't know if there's anyone up here that knows it better than they, when it comes to what can be spent, what cannot be spent, and what is eligible for those expenditures. Right. So when you get down to expenditures for TIF number, we're in 3, right?
Well, this says, right,
Yep.
you just said
So our expenditures are what we estimate is coming in. We've got the contractual services, again, we're at $299,000. We're looking at, there being work there done this year. We know that inside the 700,000 square foot building, we know that they've already got a business that's looking to go in there. There's walls being put up. Our engineers will be working in there. Those costs all come from the TIF. So we can, instead of the village paying those costs out, those are TIF eligible expenses. So we're looking at that. There's also some projects in that area that we've already been given a heads up that may happen. So again, this is all part of preparing for those potential projects. And then we got the $250,000. I think $250,000 is the maximum amount that the village can take out. But again, the village has to prove the reason for that $250,000. That's where we have to do a report. That report has to consist of how many police calls were over, how many fire calls were over, administration spent, how many hours for that TIF. There's a lot of information. And that comes through the department heads, that comes through Mohan, putting those reports together, because we have to send it to the trustee that is over this. There's no one on this board, sometimes people get mixed up. There's trustees that work in the banks and things like that, that review all those reports and get final approval before that money's moved over.
I gotta ask more where you got this $3 million from.
Okay.
Because,
So TIF number, you want to know about TIF number 3?
no, I'm talking about where you got the interest earning at $7.
What's in there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, I don't even like put that in. But no, I was looking at the, coming down to, like you stated, so 2002B is abated. 2008 must be abated. Now, 2009 bond, I don't know. To make sure, we have to find out about 2009.
Yeah, because we just got been doing all the abatements.
I'll be the Vegas for, like I said, 2007, very time since I read in September for.
That's just good.
Yeah, 2007, ABC.
We just did all the
So they
abatements.
were,
Right, 2009.
I believe 2009 was included.
Okay. And that's great.
Because I thought we abated everything except for the one. And she said it has to be later this year.
ABC was,
Yes.
and this building and then the equipment. New world.
Any question on that?
Well,
Yeah, I got the question. If I'm missing something, make sure you write your questions down. I want to make sure it's in here. We can go back and just make sure there's no notes that I missed.
The senior's still in there.
All right, we go down to TIF number 4. Tip number 4, Sherryville Plaza, where we talked about what Popeyes all do the best, you know, and then, again, we're looking at total revenue of about 119,000, some change. There's not much in there.
No, I'm trying to figure out, we only got 30 last year. Where's that number come from? 80,000.
Yeah, it comes from potential growth, I think, and I don't have any notes, but,
There again, potential, I mean, it's nice, but if we, like we did last time, we budgeted for 130, we only got 30. So right there, that's 100,000.
but the other thing too, you have to remember, there is, when you look at when we went over, these accounts have excess funds in them already. So tip number 4, Mohawk can let us know, I think it has close to $1 million in there. The tip-
Okay,
the tip-
I just want to know, no, I mean, I'm not talking about what's in there, I'm talking about what we're looking to bring in. We don't, I mean, I haven't seen anything change over in certain Brooks that's going to justify that kind of money, but
Right.
I just wanted to know from him, where did he get that part from? So that would be a question I would definitely have to ask him.
Right, and again, when we look at this, just so we're clear, is the TIFs does not affect our general fund. And the TIFs, you spend what comes in, so again, obviously it's projected.
Well, it affects it because we pay out of those TIFs according to what we're looking to get in. I mean, just like the next one we're talking about is professional services, that's a payout. And we're
For
gonna pay out.
professional services for work done inside that TIF.
Correct.
Or another TIF next to
Well,
it.
we pay out according to what we're gonna get in, and we get ready to projected 75,000. Last year, we only had 50,000, but that's also based on that 119 is what I'm saying.
Right, but if you look at last year, we said we were going to spend 75,000, but we only spent 50.
Yes, but this
So
year,
again, the numbers are there if you look at it coming in, you don't spend it. But again, it allows you to, you know, potential growth. Again, we're going to really push this year, growth in our TIFs.
but if you notice, last year we were 2,500. No,
No,
25.
we were in a deficit, 25,000, but again, these funds,
well, I mean, rather than have that, then let's do, I mean, I'm always looking at, Mayor, and this is the only reason why I'm not going back and forth, I'm just looking at, if we got in this amount, unless something's changed dramatically in that particular area, let's keep it at what we got in.
the man of the hour, perfect timing,
We got some items.
we're at.
Definitely in the hot seat.
Yeah. They got a block eye, you don't want to sit on it. As you're getting your chair, and as you're getting comfortable, I'll let you get into TIF number 4, which is what page? We're on page 18. And when you get to page number 18, we're in TIF number 4. The question is, we only brought in on revenues $30,000 last year. We're budgeting potential revenues of $119,000. Trustees are asking about these numbers. Does it work? Yeah, and make sure you speak about it. Sound like it, no? Oh. TIF number 4, revenues. TIF 4, what did I say? Gotta catch me.
This is incremental property tax.
I don't have my excuse in here. Give me a large unsweetened one. Don't make it extra strong tonight. I'll make it a lot. Excellent. I don't want to use that. TIF number 5. You there?
Yeah, the appropriate tax levy, I mean, it is predetermined tax levy is 119,047.95. We are expected to get that much.
Can you explain why we only got 30,000 last year? That was the question.
No, that was updated as of February. In March and April, we might get some, probably another 30 or 35,000.
So you're saying that, okay, because you had on here projection, current year projected, and then you said plus 2 months, which I thought that you, okay, February, March, and April.
Yeah, you cannot reasonably forecast how much you're going to get it for this. That's why normally I do project for 2 months, but somehow I missed it.
But my question, Mohan, is, right now,
Okay,
we got 30,000 in.
correct. How
Wow.
come I am expecting 119,047?
No, next year. Next year, I'm talking about next year. Next year, you're saying that we should get 119,000, even though we've only got 30,000 this year.
Correct. 119,000 is based upon the Cook County estimate.
But isn't county also cutting it? I'm just, okay, I mean, if you're saying that, then I just want to know where you felt that you got that from.
This year.
How did that tip?
Yeah, this year probably, you might get another 10 or $15,000.
But this is coming from the
Make-
tip.
Yeah, making approximately about 45,000. But for the next year, I'm anticipating about 119,000 per common record.
Did we abate taxes in there last year?
No, not for this four. Not for this four. Only the abatement is related to only 2 and 3.
And it's just that's a lot of money. That's $80,000 that you're saying that we're going to get in more than we got in this year.
Yes.
And you're saying it's based on what you feel. Okay?
Yeah, let's go ahead and go forward since we're on the screen this, and then we're going to go back. There's other questions. I've got 4 other questions here. We'll go back to these 4 questions. Well, let's go forward while you're here and finish this part here. Police pensions next. And we look at the property taxes and the expenditures.
Police pension property taxes is once again based upon previous year's levy plus 1.7% incremental.
Okay, so the police tax, property tax on that is based on the levy.
Correct.
Okay, but the levy I thought was just for the bond. The bond that we couldn't pay, that we levied for that, remember?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
In addition, we also levy for the police pension tax too.
But last year, did we levy last year for the police?
Yes, it's automatic. We don't have
Right.
a levy. It's automatic.
But that was, we only received 96,000. Now you're
Right.
talking about another 104,000.
Correct.
That we're going to get in addition to, and I'm just wondering, okay, where is that?
Last year we got, that is currently as of 4/30, we got so far 132,995. Next year it's going to be 145,000.
No, back up. No, that's interest. I understand that. I'm talking about the property tax that's earmarked for the police pension.
Oh, police pension.
Yeah,
Yes.
313, adding on the 313. Last year we got 96,000, and now you're saying that with the levy we'll get 203,000.
You see what you're talking about when it says property,
Property
property
tax,
tax, police
police
pension?
Yeah, I understand, but as I said, once again, this is based upon as of February of 2015. Another 2 months I have added and have not added so far.
Okay, but then maybe I'm okay, because property tax went out, when is property tax? It went out in March. You basing this on the property tax? Okay, but then last year, didn't they do the same thing, and why we only got 90,000?
The same thing.
Right, they did it last year, I understand what you're saying, that we should have it by in another month or whatever. I understand that, but last year, the whole 12 months of last year, all we got was 90-some thousand. What's going to make a difference that we're going to get an extra 110,000?
Because remember, the tax levy is from January 1st, the current year, till December 31st
Right.
of the year. Because our fiscal year starts from May 1st and ends in next year, April 30th. That is the reason.
I understand, but it happened last, but I was trying to say, Mohan, it happened last year at this time. I mean, 12 months is 12 months, however you start and stop it, it's still 12 months. Last year, it was in a 12-month period that we received 96,000.
Right.
This year, you're saying in this 12-month period, that we're going to receive $110,000 more. And you're saying it's going to be because of the levy that we just put in? Because we put a levy in every year.
Definitely every year. Definitely every year.
Again, I mean, if you say it, I'm not disputing, I'm just questioning. Don't get me wrong, I'm not disputing, I'm just questioning why the numbers are so different. Because last year we budgeted or we projected that we would get 194,000 and all we got was 96. So I'm just looking at now what's changed from that time to this time, and then we're projecting even more money this year than we projected last year, and we still don't. So if you're saying that it's going to be that way, I mean, that's why you have the position. I'm just, you know.
Last year, you remember, the EAB came down drastically.
Yes, it did, and that's what I'm looking at now. The EAB is still
because of that.
and it's still down. The EAB people are applying for all type of you know, reconciliations for their homes and stuff. So that's what I'm looking at. The EAB has not changed. It may have stayed where it's at. So that's what I'm just wondering how you was able to put more money into that. But okay.
All right.
So I guess your interest is based on that we will get that
Based on the
increase.
investment
Okay.
income, whatever we get from the market.
You have questions on that one?
Mohan, based on county action in the past, and based on what you just said, is it wise to go that high? Based on the background and what Cook County has done before to us, and based on the stuff that we didn't get last year, as Trustee Burke brought out, is it wise to go this high? I mean, but you really feel that we will get that?
I think
Cook County looked at the track record, man.
I'm hoping, but I can't say for sure, 100% sure.
All right. Let's look at, fire pension fund now.
Oh, next page, okay.
Got the proposed property taxes, again, we're about $5,000 more.
That's the same thing. I guess that's the same form, the regular form. For the fire pension, it's the same form, okay. Because you double that one too.
I think, you think, and I'm not in the financial side, I know Mohan's constantly looking at the reports that are coming out, he's reading the journals, he's getting his information. So, we hope that everyone's right. It's kind of like you said, when it comes to the stock market, you hear that the analysts come out and they talk about, what's going to happen this next year and what's the yields are going, the future's going to yield and what the crops are going to be at. I think a lot of times it's, well, you base your decision on that. Working cash fund. That's pretty much what it was last year. We were just about $400 and some less. than what was estimated. So we left it the same as it was last year, 85.5.
The next one,
Which one?
the next one, transfer to debt service. Now, that's on page 19, at the last one, item 770.
Yep. Last year, we only transferred 8,000. This year,
70,175.
What will we do?
Because they had enough funds to cover. Therefore, we transferred only what they asked for.
No, I'm asking, you're estimating, because last year we wanted to transfer 72,000. We wanted to, but we only was able to transfer 8,000.
Because they had, Amalgamated Bank had extra funding. They had excess funding.
So
So
this
therefore,
year, you're going to say that we're going to transfer 70,000?
yes.
Based on?
Based on the debt service schedule.
Say again?
That's based on debt service schedule. We are going to transfer 70,175.
Yeah, we do transfer, we do take money to debt service every single year.
If the amalgamated bank has money extra reserves in
Right.
funds, we don't have to transfer money. If they don't have the money, then we have to transfer.
That's what I'm saying, that's what I'm looking at, when you looking to transfer.
Yes, because they had extra money, extra reserve, that's why they asked only for 8,715, we transferred 8,000.
This year, you think that they're not gonna have that reserve?
Right,
Right, we know that, but, so that means we have to, and that 70,000 is coming from that.
The principal and interest tax levy, working cash fund tax levy.
I always think this is the best part of the budget. Department heads are easy. This is the best part. I'm trying to figure out what that is. Debt service funds. Again, it shows you where the expenditures are going when it comes to our bonds, our tips.
Mostly for debt service fund, the funds are coming from general fund, fire fund, and utility tax fund. In addition, the money is coming from DIF 2 and DIF 3. All the money will come into debt service fund as a revenue, and it will be expensed. Almost all the money will be expensed right away. It was principal and interest debt service.
Okay, item number 380, it says transfers, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm trying to read the abbreviation, but I think it means transfers from working cash 2010 fund. Is that correct? WC? What is that?
It is the money that we took out by selling the bond for working cash. Working cash was borrowed approximately about 1.5 million, I guess, if I remember correctly, to pay for the working cash for the general fund. We borrowed money, and for that we are levying the tax. And when we get the tax money, we'll pay towards the bond to clear 2010 working cash bond
Do we do this every year?
every year.
You understand what I'm
We
saying?
we have 4 bonds.
If we do this every year,
Yeah, every year, yes.
then why we only did 8,000 last year again? I mean, last year must have been a lean year.
Right.
I mean, we only, because we didn't get anything from the levy. This year, we're levying for 70,000 plus the other things that we talked about.
Right.
And I don't see any difference, but I know that the levy pays for all these different things, and we were forced to levy this year for one of the bonds that we couldn't pay for. So you're saying, okay, I mean, if if it's in there, I mean, you.
Amalgamated bank has,
Right.
in addition, when the request for the future payment of the debt service, they do bill us right back to the village of Sauk. But in turn, when we get the money from tax levy, we have to send it back to the amalgamated bank for the reserve. They keep 125% of the debt service.
Absolutely,
as a
right.
requirement.
Yes, they do.
So that's why they will get the
It just
money in
looked at
advance.
funny that last year we didn't levy that much. Obviously, we didn't levy enough. But now hopefully we can.
The 2007 A, B, C, as well as working cash bond, we do not have to levy the tax. It's automatic.
Right.
Because it is an indented bond.
Yes, that's right.
Whether you like it or not, they automatically levy unless we go back and abate.
And that's why I was looking at it. If it's automatic, then why the number's so different? Because you're absolutely right, 2007 ABC, if we don't have the money, it's an automatic. That's the way those bonds are written. My question is, why
As I said,
okay, I mean,
the amalgamated bank transferred only this much into that service.
okay.
It's not in my control, but it is
Right, no, it's
controlled
not
by
right.
the amalgamated bank.
It's better than, okay.
All right. Bring it to the last one, it's the fund expenditures, right?
This is very interesting.
Fund expenditures, and what you're gonna see is that the majority of the money for the funds expenditures are available through our bank accounts because it exceeds the total outlay of cash payments. So currently, if you look at our bank accounts, which we talk about our bonds, our reservoir, our reserve, I think the tips are in here. We have working cash at approximately 9 million, and over 9 million, 9.3, almost 9.4 million. So what we're doing is, when you see the brackets, we're bringing in, you can explain this one,
It's a deficit actually, $3,348,010. We are forced and in a sense, because we don't have the inflow by 3.348 million, we are taking the money directly out of the bank account and paying the bond holders. Because we have abated the taxes, we are going to get less money of 3.348 million.
Which means next year we probably won't have to abate.
Next year,
That should pay the bond payment.
It's going to depend on how much we bring in. If we bring in more than we expect.
But now, the 2007 B bond payment, the reason why it was levied is because we didn't pay them last year, correct? I mean, if you look at it here, we budgeted to pay them $98,000. The, what is that, 810, 2007 Series B bond payment, we budgeted to pay $98,000. We didn't pay anything. So we didn't pay
So
anything.
they go down one more line item. It's 98, 98,500 or 98,615, 98,615.
Okay,
It's down one. So you got 2007 Series B bond.
but now we're going to pay $101,000.
Because the debt service is not even $1,000 for this year. The principal will stay same. The interest portion will be a little bit higher. That's the reason.
Yeah, I'm looking at the next one. I'm looking at the next one, that the interest is 61,000. Last year was 16.
So when you look at the payments, this is the way it is every year your principal continues to stay the same. I think the longer it runs, the higher interest.
Yes.
The way it goes.
Mohan, again, this keeps it, it's a pattern that I'm not used to. I mean, the last one says 10 bonds, principal interest. It's still, that 70,000 keeps coming out.
What is the,
That's part of this transfer from working cash flow, that's 70,175. So this is, in other words, this is, all this is, what you did was just add everything up, basically. Yeah. And,
This is your summary.
right. And total expenditures is 3.9 that we paid last year, but I'm sorry, yeah, that's what you have, we paid 3.9 mil. And now we're gonna pay 4.2, which it will come out from.
it will come from different bank accounts.
Right. I mean, this is coming out of now this is all this story, one doesn't, don't get it. This is coming from the TIFs.
This is coming from TIF as well as from general fund,
Yes.
plus fire fund, plus utility fund. Because now moving forward, there will not be any 911 funds for our purposes.
Well, I
The
mean,
money I have budgeted in utility tax fund.
but I mean, we'll still collect 911 money, won't we? Right.
But
Who's gonna keep it?
the commission is not paying, he's writing it down to read. The commission is not paying anything to reimburse the general fund account. Therefore, I have budgeted in utility tax fund.
So the 911, I'm sorry, the 911 money that's coming in will go where?
It will stay in 911 fund.
Okay. To pay for?
To pay for the debt bond or debt, but unfortunately, they're not paying it to us.
Okay, so now what you're saying that the 911 fund, you're looking at it to pay for the bond that we have for the equipment?
Correct. A portion of that service would,
And
I'm tired of,
making,
I'm tired of asking them
that's why.
to reimburse and they are not doing anything at all.
Okay, so that, I mean, but all of the 911 money that we got coming in, you're gonna use that to pay off that New World bond?
I wanted to use it, but the 911 commission members, they are not reimbursing.
So where is it going?
It is still there in their account, in their bank account. 911 account.
The who's paying New World? We are strictly out from the village?
We have paid, we have
100%.
paid so far, yes.
Yeah, you have the 911 commission, which consists of the fire chief, the deputy chief, refresh my memory. Who's the other ones?
Darnell,
Oh,
Art Johnson.
Art Johnson. So, you know, when those 911 funds come in there, they have a commission there, committee, neighborhood commissioner committee. They vote on how the funds are expended through that 911 fund.
Do we know how much is taken in every year?
Almost about $61,000.
Wait a minute. That's all? I mean, seriously, that's it?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Last night we heard a couple of presentations for dispatch, and I swear I asked the question, will you be receiving our 911 money? And I swear that two of them said, yes, we will. So now you just said we're going to keep the 911 money, or we're going to box it out one.
We keep the money in turn. Remember, we had to pay the 911 system, their system. We are going to.
We got to pay the bond, that's number one.
Still, we have to pay for our bond. The bond will have to go.
Okay.
So we have to.
The question now is, as trustee Burgess there, are we going to keep it or go, where does it go? Is it going to go to a separate account or what?
It will be in a separate account, but I cannot touch it because I'm not authorized to. The only 911 board members are authorized to draw the money. Whenever I ask for the reimbursement, I get all the negative answers to pay for the bond.
Okay, maybe we need to find out how much of that equipment is 911 eligible. In other words, from New World. Because maybe they're probably saying that they don't, all of that is not, which it is not all 911 equipment, because that was part of the dispatch and everything too, but that's what we did the bond for way back, was to cover that money.
I think it was for all the equipment.
It was
a lot
home
of
dispatch,
equipment
correct.
was on bond.
Right, so maybe that's what it is, I'm just guessing, but I thought we got 66,000.
It's 61, 62.
61.
Again, that's why we put a referendum out there to raise it by $1, hoping to get at least, get up to 100,000, 120,000. Which shot down.
At least, in order to make the bond payment, we should have at least minimum of $105,000 in revenue, but we are not getting
Yeah, but that bond payment is 105, right? Yeah, I saw that.
We are not getting that much.
So that means that we don't either we're gonna have to continue, that's something that maybe people need to know, you need to let everyone know, that if we don't get it, we will continue to have to either levy because it's automatic, because it's a bond payment, we either have to levy or have to raise something because that money comes due. And if we don't pay it, quite naturally, they can do one, two things. They can make you abate all bonds, which means you definitely got to levy for the whole amount, or that's one of the stipulations on a bond. That's why they'll give you a bond because they're attached to something that's tangible.
All right, let's go back to some of these questions under liability insurance. There's a question, it's between Parks and Trade Grounds and the Dispatch Center. You've got the municipal audit and liability insurance. One of the questions that was brought up was the amount that's being projected this next year is $511,997. The question is, will the dispatch center going without that amount go down, or is it expected to stay the same? And I guess why?
It will be the same.
I didn't write down page numbers.
It will pretty much remain the same.
I know I have the note that says this is from the Owens Group,
Right.
based up per Owens Group insurance proposal. That's why I know that I have there.
It's the total workers' comp as well as the total liability insurance for coming year will cost approximately $511,000. Last year we paid almost about $485,000. In this $485,000 we did not include 2 more months, as I said, 2 more months expenditure. It's approximately about 19 plus 19, 38,000.
But you have,
Approximately 38,000.
at the top of the page, you have 2014-15 current year projected.
I think the problem is it's a header, so when you change the header, it changes the same thing on
So-
every single page.
So this doesn't include the other 2 months, March and April? It doesn't? And it won't decrease even though we're not paying for dispatch? So the liability has nothing to do with it?
Liability will remain the same, even though the dispatch center is gone. It is, remember, it is liability insurance, it is not health insurance, or it is not workers' comp. Other state unemployment insurance. It is not.
So we still have to insure that part of, which makes sense. I mean, because it's still going to be used for lockups and things like that. Excuse me, things like that. So, but I thought maybe it would go down.
No, it will not go into relation to the question.
Right. I think we already answered the 2007 B bonds, where we had no revenue, no expenditure, but we saw it was under utility tax. So that one's been answered. Then we got down to utility tax. The question was, why was the increase from last year? Last year was $194,000. Does anyone know what page that's on? I'm sure what page it's on.
The reason is comment as well as night for their battery collecting their uncollected funds. Previously, there used to be a couple $1,000 regularly in uncollected funds they used to take off. For example, if the total revenue earned by ComEd is $32,000, if the customers did not pay ComEd about $4,000 for that month. Net revenue for the village as well as county is $28,000. For coming year, they are projecting that they should be able to get all the uncollected money. For example, if they did not collect last year for $20,000 or $30,000, they should be able to collect this year. So that's why I'm forecasting a little bit higher than last year.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I'm looking at, okay. The reason why I'm saying, Mohan, I'm looking at, this is what we got. You're hoping that we get more, but I'm hoping that we get what we got, and if we get more, that's a bonus. That's the way I look at it. I mean, but I understand what you're saying. You're going to go best case scenario. I'm looking at what we actually did, and then go from there. But you're looking at best case scenario and it says, okay, well, I've got this information, and I think due to that information, we should get X amount. I'm looking at, this is what we got last year, let's go with that, and if we get anything else, quite naturally, we got other things we can pay, so. But yes, absolutely. We got, that's what I'm saying. That's my point. That's my point exactly. That's my point exactly. Why don't we just...
Mike.
Again, sorry. It's pretty...
Don't make me beat my chest, okay?
No, I'm just saying, I was just wondering, why don't we just keep it where it's at? But, I mean, you know, I don't want to get back in July, October, November, we still projected this, but we only got that coming in, and because we did that last year. Reason why, that's why I'm doing that now, because we did that last year, you saw what happened.
Well, last year was pretty drastic.
Right, but this year is
almost about 50,000.
Yes.
$5,000.
Yes. So that's what I'm looking at.
That's right.
Well, okay. I'm just looking at what I got in. I go with that. If we get anything more, it's a bonus, and we can use that for something. But right now, we're looking at every dime that we get in, and that was just my concern.
All right, and then you came in at tip number 3, or tip number 4. Tip number 3, there was a question about the interest. You know what that was? Tip number 3. Oh, yeah.
Yes. What's that?
Last year we got
$6. On what? Based on what? On whatever. Okay. So this year you're going to get 10 based on. Okay.
Now we're going to put $4 in there for us.
Okay. I'll post that. Oh, okay.
or you may not get anything at all, you know, depending upon the market.
And if the market's really good, you're ready.
And just to say, because we did ask, all the bonds have been abated except 2007, A, B, and C.
2007 A is coming from general fund, B is from 911, of course, utility fund, C is from fire fund.
All right, that covers the whole entire budget. There's a couple things, though, I just want to bring to your attention. Last Monday, we talked about cell phones, kind of brought it to your attention. We talked about take-home vehicles. It is still inside this budget. It was not removed. But to give the board an example for all the departments, I said, I'll give you this number. If we remove cell phones, we could save $14,892. That's what we're doing right now for cell phones. Right. So I'm throwing it out there just so you know. That's a year. And the take-home vehicles, it's estimated that we spend $28,800 a year for take-home vehicles. That's with all departments where it comes to police, fire, and water. 28,800. We're going around on 28,000.
So is that fuel maintenance?
Right. And again, some of that stuff is, if you want to look at preventative maintenance, it probably would be higher, but we didn't throw in any of those estimated charts you know, because we're putting so many miles on these cards, there's numbers we could use, we didn't throw those numbers on there. These are actual numbers based off of last year's budget. Taking away both the cars, take-home vehicles, and taking away the cell phones, it's a cost savings to the village of $43,692. So, $43,692. Again, these amounts are in this year's budget. I'm just bringing it to your all's attention. And it's up to the board if they want to continue providing this service, the perk, whatever you want to call it, to our village employees. We know that usually on the departments, take-home vehicles are for usually the department heads, the foremen, the ones that will be going directly to the job. On the police department, it's the police chief, deputy chief, and your detectives. Public Works is your department head and your foreman, and there's always an individual who's on call. Fire department is usually the chief and the assistant chief. And they only use the vehicles here in the village, usually whoever's on call, right, on the fire department. So whoever's on call is usually what they're doing. And then the police department, Public Works, ESDA is only one car with ESDA. That's our coordinator. And then we already talked about police department. So, yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not making any suggestions. I'm not making any recommendations. I'm just informing you right now that there is $43,000, almost $44,000 in this budget for cell phones and take-home vehicles. Yes.
On vehicles, what's the alternate? Do they get to put in for their mileage when they come to
No.
the calling? Or is it just that they just move, they're responsible for themselves?
No, what would end up happening is an individual would drive their car to work, just like most of us do. They would get out of their car, they'd go get their vehicle, and they would use the company, or the village vehicle, village vehicle for village business. When they get done doing the village business, they had to come back, park it back at wherever they're at, get back in their personal car and go home. Village vehicles could be used for village business. So if they were going to training, they could still come bring their personal vehicle to wherever they work at, Public Works, Police Department, Fire Department, use that vehicle to go take some training somewhere. That's still available for them for village business. Trustee.
I remember a while back, we brought this subject up and we had a large discussion, and our insurance carrier jumped in and made a comment that if the person is on any type of business, then they should be using some kind of department vehicle. The question was posed to the chairman of the safety committee, which is our insurance carrier, that what if a detective is at home and he comes in to a call, then that individual said, well, they shouldn't be using a village vehicle for liability wise. Now, have you looked into that? Or?
Yeah, you bring a good point, because what ends up happening is, and I agree 100%, if they're doing any type of village sponsored, village function on their job, they should be using a village vehicle. That's important. The other thing too, they brought up where if we have, you use example, a detective, call into work because we had something major happen. The village will be responsible in case anything happens when they're coming in for a non-scheduled shift from the time they leave their house to the time they get here, they've driven their own vehicle. The thing is, if there was any accidents, their insurance on their cars would pick up first. The village would be responsible for anything over and above, okay, which we know that. That's why we tell our village employees you need to have insurance on your vehicles. Number one, most importantly, because it's the law. It's your responsibility, you know. So, again, we have looked into this. Again, I'm just throwing this out there so that you know. We talked about cost savings this last year. You know, some of these things were brought to my attention through residents. Residents asked, why do we have employees driving cars home? You know, and how much are we paying? Well, you know, at the time, I didn't know how much we're paying a year. As we got into this budget, we started throwing the numbers together, and we got a hard fact figure that we can look back at now.
Did we determine how many cell phones that were?
40, how many you say? How many cell phones? I think he said, he told us the other night, was it 40? Approximately 40 some cell phones we have in the village. Your police department have them, as that has, and fire department, public works. It adds up. We also have some cards that go inside our police card that consider as a phone also, because it has a number. But it's so our police officers can use Wi-Fi and things like that from their police cards on their laptops. Trustee?
What about, like, Mr. Johnson said that they don't have pagers, so everything goes out through their cellular devices. So, I mean, of course, I don't see us cutting that.
Well, he came up with some good suggestions. What Art was talking about on the status side, which is Homeland Security now. What he was talking about is removing the smartphone from the individuals, because they no longer will have to have internet access, which lowers the amount of the bill for his department with the amount of phones he has. The other thing is, I know that pagers are the thing of the past. But, you know, when I started here, trustees all had a pager. We paid $5 a month for a pager. Where on a cell phone, right now, especially if you have internet access, it's probably close to $30 a month per individual. So as trustees, we all had pagers. How many of us on the board when I first came, I had pagers. We carried a pager. If anything happened, our pager would vibrate. Call police department. So they didn't, that's the only way they could reach the trustees. When I first became a trustee, they paged you, and it's your responsibility to call the number and find out what was going on. You know, now we get to the part is, you know, we're elected officials. We think they should be contacting us and giving us all the information. Society has changed a lot. It's being more our responsibility to find out what's going on.
Is there the contract liabilities that, you know, you said the chief has to have a car, the fire chief, police chief, deputy chief, the Department of Public Works employee. Is this in the contract? Contracts and so, well, actually, they're not unionized, but is that just a perk, or is there anything stipulated that that's?
It's a perk. When you look at, especially your exempt employees, it's a perk. Some of them may have on there that if the other villages providing vehicles, they get a personal vehicle. But I mean, I think it's like anything. I mean, even in the corporate world, you know, when I started my previous job, I got paid gas price going back and forth at mileage. I got cell phone was completely 100% paid for, and over time, they said we're going to give you a stipend. The stipend I got for my cell phone didn't even pay for the internet access, and they turned around and slowly took away our mileage going back and forth to work. Until it got to the point where I was paying for my own gas. So, you know, things happen. Corporate world, you know, for some reason, we look at the corporate world different than the municipal world. You know, I look at it as being the same, to be honest with you. You know, is corporate world looking to make cost savings? Is they're making cuts? You know, we as a municipality have the same rights that we should be running the village as a business. Think about it, sleep on it. Not looking for anything that's bringing it to your attention. I'm getting a waving hand, thinking we're not answering any questions tonight. I'm being told my mic's off. All right, thank you. With that, anything else on this? I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.